Imagine two people standing in the same elevator on a Monday morning. Same city, same rent listings, same grocery prices, same breaking news notifications about inflation and interest rates sliding across their phones like a slow drizzle. One earns $100,000 a year and still feels like they're constantly catching up, always a little tense, always doing mental math, always one surprise expense away from a bad mood. The other earns $50,000 and somehow feels steady, not because life is perfect, not because they're secretly wealthy, but because their money lands in a system that doesn't fight them. Their days feel quieter, their choices feel wider, and in a strange way, they look like the richer person, even though the paychecks say otherwise. What most people don't realize is that financial comfort doesn't scale smoothly with income. It scales with friction. The hidden friction of commuting, the friction of high-maintenance purchases, the friction of convenience spending that becomes routine. If your lifestyle is built on pressure, pressure to look successful, pressure to keep up, pressure to treat yourself after a draining week, then a bigger salary doesn't buy freedom. It buys a bigger machine that needs more fuel. That's why earning more often makes people feel trapped instead of liberated, because expenses don't follow logic, they follow identity. But here's the truth. You don't need to earn twice as much to feel twice as comfortable. You need your dollars to stop leaking into the categories that quietly punish you. And the fastest way to do that is to zoom out and look at 5 buckets: housing, transportation, food, entertainment, and subscriptions, and ask one question in each. Does this purchase give life back to me, or does it demand life from me? Every time you answer that honestly, your money starts to feel lighter. Start with housing, because it's usually the largest expense and the most emotional one. People think the only solution is moving somewhere cheaper. Sometimes that's true, but often the smarter move is getting more value from the same dollar by choosing the right kind of location and the right kind of space. Think of it like this. Square footage is only half the story. The other half is what your neighborhood quietly gives you for free. A park you can walk to, a library that becomes your third place, a grocery store that turns errands into a short stroll instead of a long drive. Researchers have linked walkable, amenity-rich neighborhoods with higher happiness and social connection, and even real dollar premiums in property value. One large analysis found walkability could add tens of thousands to home values. That's the obvious part. The less obvious part is psychological. When your life is set up so that basic needs are close, you spend less to cope. Less, I need a break spending. Less impulse convenience spending. Less, I deserve this spending that's really just recovery from a lifestyle that drains you. And there's one housing decision that hits even harder than rent: your commute. A well-known study, discussed widely in business media, suggested that adding around 20 minutes to your commute can hit job satisfaction, like taking a roughly 19% pay cut. Whether the exact number feels perfect or not, the principle is real. Time isn't just time. Time is energy, and long commutes quietly tax your mood, your health, and your relationships. If you've ever done a long daily commute, you already know what happens. You get home depleted, and depleted people spend. They spend to feel better, to feel in control, to feel like the day didn't steal everything. That's why a short commute can be a raise you feel every single day. And if that commute is walking or biking or anything that turns dead time into live time, it often doesn't carry the same emotional cost.
42.
Your environment
Planning
starts
appears
doing
as a
some of
gentle
the work
grid
your
overlay,
wallet
guiding the
used
raw
to do.
ingredient stream
Then there's
into
the
orderly
inside of
paths.
the home. This is the quiet hack almost nobody uses. A modest space designed well can feel more premium than a large space arranged poorly. Lighting, flow, decluttering, and intentional layout don't change your rent, but they change your experience of life. When your home feels calm, you don't need to escape it as often. And that alone can save you more than most people ever get from a raise. Now, transportation. This is where the math becomes blunt. AAA's driving cost research has repeatedly shown that the true cost of owning and operating a vehicle is much more than gas. Depreciation, insurance, maintenance, financing, and fees can push the cost of driving toward $1 per mile. depending on vehicle type and how much you drive. The big aha is that once you see cost per mile, the car stops being a personal preference and starts being a financial strategy. A large vehicle with high depreciation doesn't just cost more upfront, it costs more every time it exists. So the $50K goes further. Move here is boring, and boring is powerful. Choose reliability over image. Cars like the Toyota Corolla or Honda Civic aren't exciting dinner conversation, but they're quietly excellent at reducing stress. They hold value better. They tend to cost less to insure. They don't surprise you as often. And surprise is what turns money into anxiety. If you want to feel richer on a smaller salary, eliminate expensive surprises. The second transportation move is shopping insurance like you shop flights. A lot of people treat insurance like a fixed bill instead of a negotiable market. But studies and consumer surveys have pointed out how common it is for drivers to overpay simply because they don't compare options. Even saving a few $100s a year here is meaningful because it's recurring relief. It doesn't require extra work hours. It doesn't require willpower. It's just attention. And then the used versus new decision. Depreciation is the silent thief in your driveway. Some luxury models can lose an astonishing chunk of value in a few years. That's why a 3 to 5 year old used car is often the sweet spot. Most depreciation already happened, but the vehicle is still modern enough to be dependable. The moment you stop buying new to impress someone you'll never meet, you feel a kind of freedom that doesn't show up on a spreadsheet. Because you're no longer paying for the privilege of being judged well for 5 seconds at a stoplight. Food is next, and food is sneaky because it rarely feels like spending. It feels like survival. But the average household food bill is large, thousands per year, and the biggest leak tends to be not groceries, but unplanned eating. Hunger plus convenience is one of the most expensive combinations in modern life. You don't open a delivery app because you're irresponsible. You open it because you're tired, and it feels like relief. But relief purchased repeatedly becomes a burden. So the strategy isn't perfection. It's planning, not because planning is virtuous, but because planning turns chaos into calm. If you know what you're eating most nights, you reduce expensive impulse decisions. And if you're trying to cut costs without feeling punished, look at the biggest drivers: protein choices, brand premiums, and restaurant habits. Swapping a few expensive proteins for cheaper equivalents, like chicken, can reduce the bill without reducing nutrition. Buying store brands often cuts costs dramatically with minimal quality change. And the most painful leak of all is the one dinner that erases a week of discipline. The cocktails, the appetizers, the dessert, the emotional justification. What most people don't realize is that you don't have to eliminate dinners out. You just have to reduce the parts that are overpriced and forgettable. The simple trick is to decide before you go, are you paying for the experience, or are you paying for the extras? If it's the experience, keep it. If it's the extras, remove them. That one boundary can save you hundreds a month without making you feel deprived. Then comes entertainment. This category exposes a modern paradox. Experiences have gotten more expensive, but meaningful experiences haven't. Concerts and events can be wildly pricey now, and that's exactly why the cost per hour lens is so useful. If you spend $50 on something you use for 100 hours, that's 50 cents an hour. If you spend $1,000 for a 3-hour event, that's over $300 per hour. Neither is wrong. The point is awareness. Awareness turns money from a reaction into a choice. The other overlooked entertainment move is picking hobbies that pay you back, not in a hustle culture way, in a life design way. Cooking classes can reduce restaurant spending for years. A creative hobby can become side income later, or at least reduce the need to buy happiness because you're making something. And some of the best entertainment is almost free. Walking, reading from the library, exploring your city, spending time with people you genuinely like. Happiness research has been remarkably consistent about the power of relationships. And relationships rarely require luxury budgets. They require time and presence. Finally, subscriptions, the modern silent tax. We live in a world where you can subscribe to everything: entertainment, software, fitness, delivery perks, even premium versions of things you didn't know had a premium version. Surveys have suggested many people waste around $200 a year on subscriptions they barely use, and average total subscription spending can be much higher. The problem isn't the services, it's the invisibility, because a small monthly charge doesn't feel like spending. It feels like background noise, and background noise is exactly how budgets get haunted. The fix is simple and slightly brutal. Every subscription has to justify itself monthly, not annually, monthly. If you wouldn't happily rebuy it today, cancel it. The beautiful part is you can always resubscribe. You're not ending a relationship, you're just reclaiming attention. And attention is the real scarce resource, not money. Here's the shift that makes this whole story click. The goal isn't to spend less. The goal is to reduce resistance. Because resistance is what forces you to buy coping mechanisms. When your commute is exhausting, you buy convenience. When your home feels chaotic, you buy escape. When your car feels like a financial landmine, you buy reassurance. And when your life is built around expensive habits, you don't feel rich. You feel responsible for keeping a fragile structure standing. But when you design your life to be lower maintenance, you don't need as much money to feel okay. That's how $50,000 becomes powerful. Not because it's a magical number, but because it's enough when your system is clean. And that cleanliness, predictable bills, deliberate spending, fewer recurring leaks, creates something money can't directly purchase: calm. In the end, wealth isn't what you earn or even what you own. It's the quiet confidence of knowing your life doesn't require constant financial strain to keep moving forward.